Zoning and Emergency Services Committee. Chuck, would you call the roll? Yeah, oh, you're right.
Bill Flat.
Here.
Bob Young. Here. James Carley. Here. Justin Gimbel. Here. Darrell Holtz. Paul Ritter. I'm here. Bill Peters here.
Thank you all for showing up on a nice day. The agenda, Chuck, you want to remove 2B, don't you?
2B has been
Right.
withdrawn for now. They're going to amend it and submit it at a later date, so that's not going to be discussed this evening.
Okay. With that, motion to approve the agenda. Thank
I'll
you.
second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
You have the minutes. Questions there? Any problems with the minutes? They're pretty complete to me. Somebody want to do that one? Bob Young, motion to approve the minutes?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All right. Mike is here with ETSB report. He has 10 minutes.
I haven't even used that much.
7.5.
As long as Ritter doesn't ask questions.
I'm not gonna ask you anything tonight. I'm worn out. Not tonight, sir.
We went to the 7.5.
That's the over 100.
Okay.
I think we ought to thank you now.
For this. Okay,
I'd like to
thank
say
you.
thank you.
Just very quickly, a lot of these topics, there's really no change. Finances, just real quickly, right now, we're almost exactly at 75% of our spend for the year, and we're 3/4 of the way through the year, so we're on track. One thing I would mention, Pontiac Police Chief Woolridge and Bob Miner, who's associated with one of the banks here on the board, are working with John, Randy, and Candy to develop a 5-year budget projection. And the reason we're doing that, as opposed to year after year, is we are in conversations with Streeter. We've talked about that, about coming in. Again, it's not a done deal. They're looking at their options. And we want to know what that participation does in terms of revenue and expenses. And we're also going to do it without the Streeter being in, so we can look forward and not have to say, oh gee whiz, we're right there, we need a rate increase. Give them a little time. Chairman Fanner and I went to Pontiac City Council meeting last night, so that they're aware of what's going on, and we're going to Dwight and Fairbury and do the same. Because they and the county are our principal contributors in terms of money. Radio system, the only thing I would mention, the Starcom radio system, totally installed. Everybody's very pleased, except a few people in Dwight in certain areas. There are some dead spots up there. Motorola's have engineers up there, they're identifying those and think they have a potential solution. And we should know before I'm here next month, let's put it that way. The CAD system still on target for probably an April-May type implementation. On the consolidation front, Randy and Candy went down a meeting that was hosted basically by the ICC to hear about the new legislation, the impact. I happened to be up at Illinois Municipal League Conference. They still invite me back as a former has-been. And they had a session up there. We heard the same thing. Nobody knows a whole lot about what's going to happen. We know what the legislation says, but how it gets enacted. The big thing for us is trying to get an intergovernmental agreement in place with Streeter by the end of the year, because at the end of the year, the ICC kind of relinquishes overall control of the process, and it goes to the state police, and we don't want to get caught up in, January 2, state police, well, how do we work a consolidation with this community next door to us? Gee, we don't know what you're talking about, this is all new to us, that sort of thing. To that effect, House Bill 4305 has been recently introduced. It does several things, most importantly, for county board members especially, and people in other communities. Different funds that are really pass-throughs, MFT money has been suspended because of the budget situation. Wireless funds coming to us from the state, and they're paid by the phone companies. The state just takes their share and passes them through, as well as the gambling revenue that's owed to the communities. There's another couple small ones. These are not state taxes that they're holding back. These are money they get that they pass through. This bill would require the state to continue those payments. So MFT money and wireless 911 money that's critical to Livingston County as a whole, we need anybody and everybody to write their legislators and support this. Because it won't, in that political environment, we need all the help we can get. That's really it, except on the financial front. We have put together our budget. It'll be part of the county's budget, and I just wanted to give this committee a real high-level overview. This whole packet has the 2015 and 2016 budget figures. And if you look at the top page, it really tells a story. We do have three budgets: 911, wireless, and dispatch. But for all practical purposes, it's all the same money. And if you look, our total budget for all three combined in 2015, the very bottom line tells the story. At the end of 2015 budget year, if we're 100% accurate in our spend as compared to budget, will be $165,000 more in expenses than revenue. We went through a several meeting process. We have got our 2016 budget as bare as we think we can. There's obviously some contingency in there. If we spend at budget in 2016, it'll be $484,000 expenses over revenue. Well, how do we do that? We do that because we do have some reserves, and the bottom line is the reserves in the 911 fund are negative $39,000. In the dispatch fund, they're negative $269,000. But in the wireless fund, they're a positive $666,000. So the bottom line is, at the end of next year, instead of the bank statement saying you're a negative 165, we'll be about 357 in the black. But that's constantly being reduced. We will not be able to end 2016 without increased revenue, because that 357,000 obviously won't cover 484,000. You'll see all the details and everything in the budget that is submitted, and published by the Finance Committee and the County Board. But I want to give you the high-level overview. Bottom line is, Streeter will bring in more revenue than expense. That will help that situation. But depending upon how this thing the state shakes out and changes our revenue stream, they say they'll hold us harmless. I'm not sure from the state what that means. We may be looking at rate increases and/or trying to find more expenses to cut. But as far as Streeter, they bring about 160-some thousand to the table in revenue, and we have very little additional expense because, for a lot of different reasons, we won't have to add personnel, and that's always the big expense. There's some minor software adjustments that will have to be made, and things will have some expense, but it's minimal. But again, that 167,000 might buy us another year. But it's been probably 15 years now or more since we've gone to the county and the 3 municipalities and all the little fire districts and asked for rate increases. We do have a small cost of living, if you will, rate increase built into the contracts. That's why we're doing the 5-year budget projection, see how all those things play.
But had the ETSB been proactive, they wouldn't have had to come to the county for $3 million,
Exactly, exactly.
which is the point where we're trying to move forward
Yep.
and ensure that that doesn't happen again.
Well, long ago, the wireless revenues were creating, call it anything you want, a whole big safety net. Some of that should have been set aside for capital expenses. That's just good budget. And unfortunately, that hadn't been done for a good many years. When I first came on the board and somebody decided I ought to chair the thing, we started to recognize that, and there was no way we had that money set aside. That's why we came to the county one more time. I don't think there's any doubt in anybody's mind that's on that board. As the old saying goes, old rich Uncle Livingston isn't gonna be there anymore. You know, this thing's it's gotta stand on its own. And that's part of the message we're taking to the 3 city councils, and I've been preaching to the county board. But it's gotta be a reasonable increase on an annual basis or something, as opposed to waiting till we need $3 million.
And it's the 5-year projection.
That's why the 5-year projections. And our plan is to constantly push them out every year as we firm up a budget.
What's the big increase in the budget?
Pardon me?
What's the big increase
Um,
from 2015 to 2016 in the expenditure?
Personnel cost, couple of maintenance contracts, but most of it's personnel. We're like the county, we're taking heavy hits on health insurance and FICA and the natural raises by contract.
That's about 400,000.
There is, by the way, there is one additional employee. For years, ETSB is budgeted for 12. That's supposedly the right number. We've never had 12 employees. Last year, knowing that we weren't going to, not knowing that Streeter was on the horizon, we budgeted for 11. So there's, you know, it's a budget adjustment in there. The 16 budget does have 12 employees in it.
The biggest thing is, there were no inter-transfers planned for 2015. So the reason why the expenses are about 400,000 higher is 330,000 of that is, inter-fund transfers that took place.
Yeah.
So that's what that is.
John, in here, so I can tell you what we've decided. I'm sure he agrees yet. We're looking at trying to combine these 3 into one budget. And that's why I always do that to report to people, because we're constantly transferring wireless funds to cover dispatch and 911. And we have, everybody's got opinions. We do have to do separate reporting on the wireless spend to the ICC every year. State police may or may not require that, we don't know. But we can still maintain one budget and separate those items such that Candy can do her annual report. Makes it much easier to understand than almost every meeting we're saying, yeah, we're gonna transfer this much wireless to dispatch or 911. It gets confusing for everybody, including yours truly. That's why I always like to look at it as one. Anything else?
Go ahead, questions?
Mike, I just wanted to know, you said there was a possibility, I realize it's not done yet, of Streeter coming in. How does their systems, like, are they with Starcom, or,
Nope.
so they would have to change over, or how would that work?
They are fully aware they'll have to, and they want to buy new radios. They see the advantages.
That would be any financial hit on, they have to buy their
They
own?
understand that they're gonna have to carry that. I
They
mean,
have
quite
some money
frankly,
already
pardon me?
budgeted, they have some money already budgeted for that.
Yeah, they-
Not to complete.
They did what we should have been doing over the years. They budget and set aside money for capital expenditures. They don't have enough for Starcom radios yet, but yeah, they realize they've got to become compliant. The only real expense on our side will be some things the cats, we'll have to import their maps and that sort of thing, but that's pretty minimal.
Any other questions for Mike?
And again, please, put the press here, it's not a done deal. They're looking at their options. But they're looking very, very heavily toward us. They really don't have what I consider real good options.
They go into their city council on the 13th.
On the 13th, they're calling a town hall meeting, but they're inviting the public to understand and that sort of thing. LaSalle County, unlike us, people don't know. We, from day one, we have taken calls, and that's the 911 side. We have dispatched for every law enforcement, every fire department, and every emergency responder ambulance in Livingston County. It was set up that way. I always say, I guess we didn't know any different. But we did what the state's forcing everybody else to do. LaSalle County has, I think the number's right, 9 PSAPs answering points where calls come in. They have 7 dispatch centers. Everybody's doing their own thing. State law says by 2020, you will have 1 PSAP, or no, 2 PSAPs at the most and 1 dispatch center per county, except for Cook, of course. And they're over there, and you can imagine the politics, well, who's going with who and where are we going, and like I said, we didn't know any better, we just did it right to start with. So they don't have a lot of good options, because nobody's talking to anybody about doing anything the right way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move ahead then to 2C. This would be the WEX moratorium. Chuck, you want to just review that situation for us?
Well, you have reporting that this is just extending the existing moratorium that ends currently on October 15th of this year. And at the county board meeting a couple of months ago, you, as a county board, recommended that they seek a 6-month moratorium with all of the issues being discussed in regards to wind energy regulations, which would take it through April 15th of 2016. The county board meeting that month, it looks like it's tentatively scheduled for April the 14th of 2016, so you'd be having a county board meeting prior to that. So we've discussed this a lot over the last few months. If you have questions, we'll be happy to listen to them now.
Questions? You ready for the motion?
Motion to approve the moratorium for 6 months.
Okay.
Second.
Second, Dr. Carly. Any further discussion? We pretty much beat this in the ground already, I think. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. We're down to 2D. Chuck, have you got anything on the wind energy regulations?
I don't have anything on that.
I have a question.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is the proper time to ask this question. A number of my constituents have been calling me about the placement of the boreholes that they did to determine the ground where they were going to put the towers, and there's a 1.5 inch or 3/4 inch pipe, PVC pipe, and I believe that Mr. Steichen has reached out to a number of people pertaining to this, of the proper way or not proper way, or not to do anything with these pipes that are in the ground where all of the towers were to be located. Am I talking in circles, or is there any tongues that I mean, is
Allison,
this something that's true?
Can you add anything on that?
Yeah, we're aware of the situation, and we are working to get a crew out there as soon as possible to remove those and then fill the holes.
So to inform the public that they're to do nothing is the appropriate, because there's a number of, people are calling me, I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah, we're gonna be sending a letter out to our landowners,
telling them what the plan is and what the timing associated with the crew going out to the field.
And when those are being removed, what is the second question that was asked me was what was the process? Are they refilled with bentonite? What is the process involved? And the reason why they asked me of this question, and I guess they've been reaching out to Donnie Simmons as well, and Donnie is, so Donnie is Donnie in the sense that he's listening to people,
Sure.
meaning that in a positive way. The concern is, from their standpoint, is that we have a source of possible water contamination if it's not filled properly. I don't know the answer to this question. I'm not asking the question from my standpoint. I'm just getting phone calls,
Sure.
even though I've been gone for 2 months. I have been gone for 2 months.
It'd be filled with bentonite or
Yeah.
grout, right?
Yes, each pipe removed would be refilled with bentonite clay.
Sure, which I would expect. I mean, obviously to fill and it swells and then no contamination can get into the groundwater and away we go. How do we inform the public so they're aware that something is taking place?
That'll be in your
Because,
Sorry?
That'll be in your letter.
Right, yeah. We previously had phone conversations with a lot of landowners about this a while ago, and we'll be sending out a letter.
And maybe if we could find a reporter from the Leader, maybe it would get in the article.
I don't want to say,
Tomorrow.
I'm not going to say a bad thing about reporters from the Leader because they were at my
I'm
golf
not
tournament today.
I'm not
because
saying
I'm gonna
anything,
tell you-
I'm not saying anything
Not only did they
bad.
cover my golf tournament, they interviewed my kids.
I'm just saying
I'm really
maybe
excited about this.
it may get in the paper tomorrow. And that would help to get the information out.
Just so we're clear, what are we talking about? What pipes? What is? So I know a specific way that this came up. I don't know. What,
Would you say it's a borehole,
But
Sam?
we'll let them explain to you.
At the location of the turbine, a bore sample is taken for groundwater and subsoil matter to determine the composition of the necessary foundation. In some areas, we need a floating foundation if the water table is high enough, which we need to be prepared for anyway. The piezometers is what these pipes are technically called, are left in the ground for future testing if necessary on those bore samples. Normally, by this time, construction would have taken place and those piezometers would have been long gone. But out of respect for crop in the field and not wanting to mow that down, a month ago, we delayed the removal until now, which will be happening very shortly.
Which makes sense. Yeah, makes perfect sense. I'm just getting phone calls, and they're simply going, what are you gonna do about this? I have no idea what I'm gonna do about this.
You just took
Because
care?
I don't know what to do about it, but I'm gonna ask the question, so.
We spoke with Donnie Smith starting, about a month ago. Yeah. And we started the action at that time and made the decision internally to wait until harvest had started or was well underway before we would send anybody out in the field.
Sure.
And that was communicated, as Allison said, to the majority of the landowners.
Thank you. Does that take care of it? We're good? Okay. Does anybody else have anything regarding wind energy regulations?
Just briefly as an update, after our last session, I called and spoke with the Attorney General's office regarding the opinion. I let them know that there's a desire to potentially put something on a referendum in the March primary, and so I asked them if there was any chance of expediting their opinion process. They said that they would flag it or tag it as being, quote, expedited. However, when I asked realistically whether that was going to speed the process along, The lady assured me that from her perspective, and she was handling, or overseeing the initial part of the case, that she said that she would make sure to put pressure on moving it along, but once it gets to the administrative review stage, that's above her head, and so she said that's where it could potentially get bogged down. So she said, we'll do what we can to try to get it to you as soon as possible so that you can potentially put something on a ballot, but she can't make any assurances to me in terms of timing as to when we would get it. But it has been tagged or flagged, or however you want to put it, and it's been brought to the attention. She also said that she would talk to her supervisors in the administrative review process, but again, she doesn't have necessarily any clout over them, but she would suggest that they move it forward as expeditiously as possible. So, I've also reviewed some of the other questions and issues related to the ordinance, and so I didn't know whether you intended to go into any of those at this meeting or not, but otherwise we can delve into that at a time when the committee, the ad hoc committee wants to go over it, or this committee wants to go over it.
Okay. Anybody else?
Does that include public or not?
I guess it can, if it's short.
Well, the word I was getting on this pipe, PVC pipe, is the landowners were getting calls telling them they could pull the pipe out. Kind of conflicts with what's already been said. So I don't know what's going on there. Some of them have been plowed out already, and but the big thing, the call was about pull them out so they wouldn't hit them with their combines and stuff.
I wouldn't think they were plowed out. They're 12 and 24 feet deep, aren't they?
So they're broken off at the ground surface level, which has left an open cavity straight to the groundwater, and the folks that were putting them in specifically told a landowner in our area not to spray, farm, or otherwise disturb the area around there because it goes directly to our groundwater.
Sure.
Okay.
And that was the concern that was brought up to Mr. Simmons, who has ignored 2 or 3 of my attempts to communicate with him, that you have these open things that have been there for about a year now, and everyone's kind of wanting to skirt around it or ignore it, so.
Okay. Moving on to 2E, Chuck, solid waste.
Okay. You have, as part of the handout, you have a synopsis of the legal document. It's relatively short this time. Similar to past reports, the first September 16th issue is just a similar NPDS reports for July and August. The September 17th one is also air quality one. It's for the Clean Air Act program. An added note on that is that the landfill is seeking to have their air permit, that the CAPP Clean Air Act permit program extended or renewed. So there was a notice you possibly saw in the paper for that. That's just renewing an existing permit. That's nothing new in regards to that permit there. The September 17th and 22nd issues in regards to the EPA extending time. This does reflect a little bit on some of the state budget issues, and the EPA is not hiring, so you're having delays of reviews of documents that are going into them as far as water reviews, et cetera, et cetera. So then they're continuing asking for extending review time in regards to those issues going into them. And then the September 16th one was good news again. They did the gas migration monitoring. And again, for the second month in a row, they didn't find any issues in regards to that. So they did get their new cell area permit from the EPA. They got it on the 90th day of 90 days to review it and approve it, so they did get that. So they're putting waste within their new cell this year, and they're rebuilding the remaining half of that cell. They did a quarter and a quarter. The remaining half of it built in 2016. It's on their 2016 plans to do that, so they're scheduled to do that. They're budgeting to have the same amount of waste come in next year as they had this year, so there's just some common host fees that come in regards to that. A note on the Streeter area landfill, they did have an IEPA quarterly discussion on that. They did find some erosion issues in regards to that, so they're going to be doing some some dirt work to take care of the erosion issues and some overseeding of it, because there was some issues that we've kind of noted before that the grass didn't grow and the low quality of soil coming in there.
Is this the same place they've been having problems growing grass all along
It's the whole landfill.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's improving each year, we'll give them that, we'll give them credit, it's improving this year. The soil quality was not the best for any type of vegetation to grow on it, so it's improving now. More rain, more seeding, we'll see where we go with it. Host agreement, you have the two reports, one from me and one from Barb's office in regards to that. The host fee did go down just here last month, but that's more of a seasonal issue, that the waste after the summer declines as we move into the winter season. I do plan on November having Deegan Associates have their agreement for extending their work with us into 2016. Unless you as a committee have other wishes in regards to how we address having a consultant with the county look at these issues.
Well, I think Deegan is supposed to keep us out of a lot of trouble. I think they're well worth the money. But I got a question for you
Yes.
on the bill. Maybe you want me to wait on that?
What page is that?
Last page.
Last one, yeah.
He had down there his travel mileage, $128. Is that a one-time, or is that an accumulative travel mileage, or I didn't understand that.
Hang on. I believe that's it's probably a one time on the backside. I think it's broken down on the backside. This truck mileage travel to the Pontiac meeting, so it's a one-time mileage from in the Pontiac meeting.
Isn't that kind of high?
It's 51 cents a mile from suburbia Chicago going both ways. You double 51 cents a mile, it's getting up there pretty quick. I mean, I don't know the county rate's 51 cents, I'm not sure what his, I'd have to look, see what his contract is in regards to that, so. Both ways, it's not a terribly high figure.
And then one of our other companies that we deal with, their mileage rate's $1.81 a mile, or $1.84, which,
That's including whatever, sometimes you pay court to port,
yeah.
but I don't know, I mean, I figured maybe he could drive 80 miles, 160 miles, but,
Yeah,
He's right, he's in more suburban.
Yeah.
So he's a little bit further.
Okay. I'm just happy we don't have to pay for a sleeping rate.
we're gonna have to get a more economical car.
He's in a big old truck.
Yeah.
Dodge, 2500.
Oh, Chuck, you got more from,
It's all the solid waste, unless anybody has any questions.
I can't look at my computer with it.
okay, we're down to other issues to come before the committee.
I've been asked again to look into drones and regulations. I'll probably make a quick look at that over the next month and give you some sort of a report, just to figure out exactly what the federal regulations are on them and so forth.
Let me know, because I'm about ready to buy one.
Drones are regulated by the
FAA.
and also by the state, aren't
They
they?
said they're not, in the Prairie Farmer today, said it wasn't very clear at all, what
I don't think
the rules.
I don't think they've completed their rules.
I don't either,
Yeah, so I think
and that's the problem.
I think we're awaiting their rules to be completed on.
Yeah. And they're different for commercial people as compared to.
Litter.
Scientific purposes going on here, baby.
So you keep an eye on his golfers as they're going.
That's what it's for.
Okay,
Survey the football field.
Chuck, is that it for you?
That's all for me.
Okay, committee members, anything else? Okay, he's checking his watch, how do we do? We're down to public comment.
Glad to see you guys again. Happy to see you.
Going once, going twice, going 3 times, I guess. We're done with that. Oh, we gotta approve that bill, I guess.
I'll make that motion.
You're gonna make the motion to approve, okay?
Don't like it, but I'll make it.
Second to that motion?
I'll do it.
Okay, Ritter, any other discussion? All those in favor of paying the bills? Aye. We got one more magic motion for Justin.
Motion adjourned.
I'll take that second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you very much for showing up tonight. Good luck to you, Carl.
Yep.